I'm going to tell about the learning process of the language in humans and to observe how various concepts enter in this process. If we think carefully about the transcendence of our emotional daily lives, we quickly realize that there are many occasions in which that's have a decisive influence in our lives. That's why we had the need to learn how to communicate them. We call this emotional intelligence. You start to bring around some theories about the intelligence that you try to understand from different optics, like the theory of multiple intelligence. Those are in this is visual, musical, kinesthetic, interpersonal, linguistic, mathematical, naturalistic, and intrapersonal. To communicate, we are here something called the language aptitude. It's the specialized capacity that makes us ready to divide and organize in genetic way the rules for the realization and expression either in spoken or writing way. Each person chooses their way of learning. There are different styles. Style is the ways in we learn and develop something. The impulsive and reflexive style exists, and at the moment of demonstrating the knowledge, the impulsive style gives precise answers, and the reflexive style is the slow, careful, and impressive. But anyone who decides to acquire a second language can experience anxiety. Anxiety is a disorder that occurs in a different ways. It's characterized by seeking restlessness which can block someone in a learning process. And there is also something called interference. Interference occurs in a second language acquisition when vocabulary or syntax partners from a learner's first language cause errors in a second language performance. Transfers and overgeneralization are not distinct processes. Transfer is when the learners use of their knowledge of their first language to produce or understand a second language, and overgeneralization is when the learners use their knowledge of the second languages. The overgeneralization is part of the generalization, but also the inductive and deductive reasoning are two polar aspects of the generalization process. The differences are that deductive reasoning uses fact, definitions, and rules to arrive in a conclusion, and inductive reasoning uses patterns to arrive in a conclusion. Uh, Answering. Answering is an important thing in a communication because it's the ability to be aware, recognize, understand what another person transmits. The introversion is present in the person who likes to carry out activities in solitary way and flee from the crowds. The introvert focus on their feelings and interior thoughts. Extroversion occurs in people whose interests focuses on social life and the outside world. They are considered active, communicating, and spontaneous. Besides that, we observe that person depends a lot on himself. For that reason, the self-esteem is very important. Global self-esteem is the assessment that each person has about themselves. But no one of these concepts could be given without the motivation. Motivation implies internal states that direct the organism towards same goals. Extrinsic motivation that comes from outside and leads to execution of the task. Intrinsic motivation is when an individual executes an action by himself. And taking account of how is our behavior, we must also analyze how inhibition influence on the learning process. Inhibition is the ability to resist the impulse and stop a behavior to appropriate time. This influence the academic performance, psychosocial interaction, and self-regulation necessary for everyday activities. All this leads us to develop strategies of all kinds to help us in a learning process. Communicating strategies, metacognitive, cognitive, socioexplicit, avoidance, compensatory, will lead in the learning process of the language, but knowing this path is what helps to understand many times because we are ourselves. Okay, thank you so much.